Let's just get right into it. On the left, we have the iPhone 11 Pro Max 512GB version, and on the right, we have the Galaxy S10 Plus 1TB version. This is the best that Apple has to offer against Samsung's top-tier S line of smartphones. Let's see how they stack up against each other in a speed test. First things first, we need to make sure there are no apps open in the background, and there aren't, so we're good to go. For this test, I'm going to be opening 30 apps on both devices to see which phone can open apps the fastest. Then I'm going to go backwards through the apps to see which phone can keep the most apps open in RAM. At the top, you'll see a counter to show which phone is opening the apps faster. This video is filmed at 60 frames per second, and I'll be watching the replay frame by frame to determine which phone completely finished loading the apps first. If the phones open apps within about an eighth to a quarter of a second of each other, neither phone will get a point because that could just be the time difference between pressing one screen versus the other. If you're new to the channel, you're probably wondering why I call this a real-life speed test, and the reason is because I'm opening applications that you're actually going to use on a day-to-day basis. In a lot of the speed tests you guys are going to see online, people are opening more than 5 games at a time, they're transcoding video files, and doing a bunch of things that you'll never actually do during a normal day. Now, don't get me wrong, those tests are still valuable to see how the devices perform at their limits, but they aren't the best example of how the phones are going to perform on a day-to-day basis. So that's what this test is for. As you can see, I have a bunch of applications that you're going to use every day. Things like a web browser, email app, a couple games, note applications, social media, etc., etc. So hopefully this paints a pretty clear picture of how these will perform for the average person. I know that fair tests are extremely important to you guys, so if you check in the description, you'll see the full list of everything I did to make this as fair of a test as possible. And I highly recommend that you check out that list because I did a lot of different things to make this a fair test. Now, as we go through this test, you're going to notice a few things. First, since the GPS is turned off on both phones, you'll see location requests pop up in some apps on the Galaxy S10. Unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about that. Second, a few of the apps are going to open to different locations on each phone. That's also not something I can change, it's just how the apps open on the different phones. So take those results with a grain of salt, because the faster phone will be the one that opens to the location that you personally want it to open to. Alright, now we start the RAM test. Same deal here. There's a tally at the top to keep track of which phone has to reload the most apps. Obviously, the lower the number, the better. And in case you guys are wondering, this is playing back in real time to give you guys a good idea of how fast these phones actually are. Alright, so I've had a chance to look at the replay frame by frame and add the scores into the video. In terms of app opening speed, these two phones are very closely matched, with the iPhone opening 10 apps faster than the S10 Plus, and the S10 Plus opening 12 apps faster than the iPhone. But it's worth noting that every time the iPhone opened an app faster, it was marginally faster with the exception of the Bible app. The S10 Plus also had a fair amount of marginal wins, but Spotify, Amazon, Twitter, Zillow, and Movies Anywhere opened considerably faster on the S10 Plus. This is definitely not a deal breaker, but I thought it was worth pointing out. Reloads is a different story. The S10 Plus performed excellently for the first 19 apps, but then fell apart for the last 11 apps, with 7 of the 11 needing to reload. Meanwhile, the iPhone only needed to reload 2 apps. However, while the iPhone can definitely hold more apps open in RAM than the S10 Plus, the S10 Plus still kept 23 apps open in RAM, which is definitely more than the average person's gonna need. So which phone should you buy? Honestly, both of these are so incredibly fast that speed shouldn't be the determining factor for which phone you buy. Instead, you should be focusing on the features offered by each phone, and if you need help discovering those features, check out the other videos on my channel because I dive pretty deep into what each phone has to offer. Also, let me know in the comments down below if you guys like this new format where I talked over the speed test instead of having an intro before the speed test. I did it this way to considerably reduce the length of the video, so if you guys like it this way, or if you have suggestions to make the speed test even better, definitely let me know in the comments below. And as always guys, don't forget to like it if you liked it, share it if you loved it, and subscribe for more iPhone 11 Pro Max coverage. And while you're at it, smack that notification bell so you can be the first to know when the videos drop. That's it for this Techisode. God bless guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.